You ever have one of those days where you feel completely drained, but not from work or friends? It's that weird, quiet exhaustion that comes from too kind, from caring just a little too much long. Well, let's get into that, because today we're talking about this care when it doesn't have boundaries. We're going to do it by telling this lesson the really, really hard way.
And it all kicks off with this: he was never taught how to stop caring. I mean, wow. For so many of us, it's practically a biography. This really sets the stage for everything that follows. How a person's absolute greatest strength quietly become their biggest.
Guy in our story, caring wasn't just something he did, it was who he was. It was his entire identity. It's a role that gets forged way back in childhood, right? Where being the good kid means you're just endlessly available. And that role gets reinforced over and over, year after year, until it just feels like the only way you know how to be. He was the dependable one. The one who always picked up the you back in like 30 seconds. The one who could listen for hours. These feel like medals of honor, don't they? I mean, who wouldn't want to be seen? What this story shows so well is how, without it, those medals started to feel heavier and heavier until they felt And this brings us right to the heart of the problem, something we're going to call the giving paradox. It's this bizarre, counterintuitive idea: you give, the less you're actually seen and valued for it. But let's watch how it plays out. And look, in the beginning, it felt great. People praised him, they relied on him, and being needed, well, that felt like proof that he mattered. It's a really rewarding feeling, so of course, he just kept on giving.
But then, a subtle shift started to happen. His incredible efforts just became the new normal. His exceptional support wasn't exceptional anymore. It was just expected. People stopped seeing the sacrifice and only saw the service. It just became part of the background. So he sacrificed more. His time, his peace of mind, his own needs. He just kept putting them on the back burner, believing that this is what it meant to be a good friend or a good employee or a good partner. He was literally erasing pieces of himself to make more room for everybody else.
And here it is. This is the devastating punchline to that paradox. The more of himself he gave away, the less of him there was for anyone to actually see. His selflessness didn't make him more loved. It just made him invisible. This moment right here, this was the turning point. After staying late yet again, fixing other people's messes, and finally speaking up about how overwhelmed he was, this was his boss's response. It probably wasn't meant to be cruel, but wow, was it chilling. It was praise that felt like a prison sentence.
In that one little sentence, just revealed this crushing truth. His competence, his reliability, his strength, the very things he was so proud of, had become a free pass for everyone else to just not worry about him. I mean, why would you protect someone who seems unbreakable, right?
So, where does all this lead? Well, it leads to a breaking point. But here's the thing about burnout. It usually doesn't show up with a big, loud crash. It's more of a quiet, creeping exhaustion that just kind of settles into your bones when you're not looking. And these are the signs. It's that deep exhaustion that a good night's sleep can't even touch. It's feeling resentful towards the people you love, and then feeling guilty for feeling resentful. It's that jolt of anxiety when your phone buzzes because you just know someone needs something else from you. And maybe the worst part? The shame. The shame for feeling any of this because you've been taught that your own limits are some kind of personal failure.
This is when the questions start bubbling up. That deep confusion. Wait a minute. How can the very thing that I thought defined me, helping people, suddenly feel so draining?
And then the questioning gets sharper, and it goes right to the core of the whole problem. This belief that so many of us are fed, that taking care of yourself, that having limits is somehow a selfish act, instead of, a necessary one for survival.
And then, finally, the question that changes absolutely everything. Who takes care of me? And the silence that came after that question, that was the real answer. And in that quiet, a huge, painful realization started to take shape. To move forward, he had to figure out why this kept happening. And this is where the story pivots from just an emotional crisis to a real intellectual breakthrough. He needed the words to actually name what was going on.
And here it is. The official term for this is emotional overextension. And the key part, the part you really got to get, is that this isn't about healthy giving. It's about a dynamic where your value becomes transactional. It's tied to what you do for someone, not who you are to them.
So why do we fall into this trap? Well, it's usually driven by these really deep-seated fears and beliefs. Things like a fear that if you stop giving so much, people will just leave, or a core belief that you're just not enough on your own, so you have to make yourself indispensable by constantly sacrificing. These are just old survival tactics we learned a long, long time ago.
So what's the way out? There's only one. You have to draw a line. Now, this is the path to peace, for sure, but the story is really clear about this. It is uncomfortable. It's going to feel wrong long before it ever starts to feel right.
And he started small. These are not huge, dramatic confrontations. They're tiny but powerful shifts in behavior. Just creating a little pause before replying to a text, trusting that no can be a complete sentence, and starting to say, I can't, and then just stopping, resisting that powerful urge to apologize for.
And of course, some people didn't like it. He got called selfish. They said he'd changed. But here's the most powerful way to reframe that criticism. When someone says that to you, what they're really saying is this: you are no longer as easy to use. It's not that you've become a bad person, it's just that the old, unbalanced system that worked so well for them isn't working anymore.
And all of this leads to the ultimate breakthrough. It's not about stopping caring, it's about redefining what real care even is. And you realize that true, sustainable care has to include one very important person in the equation: yourself. So let's just look at the final tally, the balance sheet of this whole decision. Did he lose some people when he drew the line? Yeah, he did. But look at what he gained. He traded resentment for real energy and clarity. He traded constant anxiety for actual self-respect. He traded a few draining relationships for peace. I mean, come on. That's not a loss. That's a massive upgrade.
So, we'll end on this final thought. We really need to redefine what strength looks like. It isn't about setting yourself on fire to keep other people warm. True strength is the wisdom to care deeply, to love with your whole heart, but also to have the courage to protect your own peace. It's knowing when to stop so that you finally have enough of yourself left to truly live.